Team that I'd never thought I would see in the top 5, let alone first, would be the team right behind me right there. I'll let Brando take that one over. Rub a little bit of salt into the wound, but hey, doesn't happen very often with their defense sucks, so I'll take that.
Yeah, buddy. Well, you got Locke staring down receivers and overthrowing receivers for interception.
Oh, no.
That'll definitely happen. I watched some Matt Waldman film review of Locke, and he's not like he's not staring off safeties. He's staring down his receivers. His mechanics are poor.
Trying to throw through guys.
Throws that you can make in high school and college against some teams, but not even in the SEC where you can make that consistently.
Didn't he have a quote on Twitter? Someone quoted him about something about sometimes he says the ball's released, he's like, oh no, or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. On his bad plays, half the time, right as the ball leaves my hand, I'm like, oh no. Not something you want to hear your quarterback say.
Yeah, right?
Now we're just saying you don't want to hear that from any professional doing anything. You don't want the doctor saying that. You want the pilot saying that.
Yep.
It's very true.
Anyways, moving on, number 2, we have the Saints 14. The Rams, 13 points. Not surprised by this, because Wilson kind of is playing crappy for a while, but he seemed to turn it around tonight. He's back to the Russell Wilson that we know. He's cooking tonight.
He's carrying that entire team, though.
Absolutely.
Defense sucks.
Yeah, the defense sucks.
Run game is injured.
Real running backs. Like the offensive line, the first play started with a sack. Like the offensive line just doesn't protect him that well. It's him, and then he's got Lockett and Metcalf to throw to, and that's it. But it takes a lot more than that to win every football game, even if you're as good as Russell. 4th, the Steelers at 12 points, and then the Jaguars, 11 points. Kind of shocking, but they snuck in there.
The Raiders and the Jags in there.
Yeah. Well, hot plays of Week 10. I'll start it off for me. I'm going to keep this short and simple. I'm actually, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm a little under the weather. But the show goes on. We got to record anyway. I'm fine. I'm not bedridden or anything, so I'll survive. But my hot plays, I had a cash lineup. I pretty much played Kyler Murray in cash. And as long as he's healthy, he looks a little banged up tonight watching this game. But as long as he's healthy and he's on the main slate, you play Kyler Murray in cash. His floor is just so high, and his ceiling is extremely high as well. So it just makes sense to play him in cash. So I did. I played him in about 90% of my cash lineups. He got 30 points last week. Even in a down week, really for most of the game, he wasn't looking super great. But even in a down week, he still found a way to score 30 points. I had Kamara, 34 points. Now, actually, this is my cash lineup that I had. I actually got the number 1 spot out of 1.4K. So it ended up being pretty good. And this was most of my lineup consisted of more or less Kyler Murray and then Kamara. So I had Kyler Murray, 30 points, Kamara, 34, Josh Jacobs, 32, Keenan Allen, he's a good start every week in cash. 12 points, DJ Moore, 19, Devontae Parker, 5.
Oh, touchdown Edmonds. You play Edmonds in your lineup? I wasn't paying attention.
Not this week.
Sorry.
I'm going to get screwed again.
He just scored. That's why I was asking. Sorry to interrupt. I just
because
saw
Swift
Edmonds
is
touchdown.
supposed to start, and then as of today, he has a concussion somehow on a Wednesday. I don't know, as we talked about earlier. But Josh Reynolds, 17 points, and Rams, 13 points. I did have another similar lineup to that with 152 points in cash. My running backs in those were Chubb and James Robinson. In fact, Chubb had ran that one in the end zone. He would have made the top 5 list too, but he ran out the 1-yard line to end the game. I did have Ayuk, played him in quite a few lineups, and he was good for 19 points. And then I did play Beasley in one lineup, so I guess I'm not too much of a height supremacist. But probably the best play I had was, as a one-off, was Jakeem Grant. because he was so cheap. I think he was like 3,000 or 3,500, and got me 14 points. So could do a lot worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could do worse. Could always do worse for sure.
Yeah. How about you, Eric?
Man, I had some decent ones. I played Diggs. I love Diggs. I think I'm amazed by his talent. I think he's under. I think he's even. I don't think he's given enough credit for how good he is. I think he's incredible. Like, I think he's a top 5 receiver as far as pure talent in the NFL. I played a lot of Diggs, Deontay Johnson. Looking back at the last week from what we talked about on the podcast, I talked about playing Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. They both worked out well. Gronk and Ebron both plays pretty well also. For running backs, I didn't do too well. I played some Jacobs. I played a few Jacobs games, and I played Kamara. And no, I didn't play any Cook because he's on Monday, but I did play Kamara in a couple. I'm amazed he only had 15 rushing yards and scored. I guess I shouldn't be amazed. The guy's incredible. But, yeah, Kamara and Jacobs were about the only two. I didn't play any Jones or Swift or Gibson or anything like that. But those were the ones. Pretty much when I round up my top of ones I did well with.
Yeah. Paul, do you have any hot plays last week?
My team's doing good. Scraping through some games, even with my boy Dreezy Breezy injured now, but that's okay. We're bringing in Mr. Interceptions and maybe eat some more W's soon.
Eat a W burger.
Wait, what did it do?
He's
anyway.
So weird.
That was it's the most awkward clip I think I've ever seen, ever.
Well,
eating that W.
Is he did that like last year or the year before, and he got roasted for it like online, and he's just like doing it more than ever now. And maybe he doesn't have social media, so he doesn't know that he's getting roasted online.
Yeah.
Well, let's get right into the walk of shame plays.
Oh.
First off, in our league, I knew on Sleeper I was going to get roasted in the weekly review because two things. I'm setting my DFS lineups, and we went to a sports book. So I'm like focused on making bets, and I missed the news kind of last minute that DeAndre Swift was going to start. So I didn't have him starting, and he blew up on my bench. And then Metcalf, Allen Robinson, and A.J. Brown combined for 15 points, which was just shocking for 3 studs of their caliber to combine for 15 points. So that's going to be my walk of shame for our league. It was a stumble right before the playoffs I did not need. So it's going to be a fight to the end. But as far as my DFS lineups, I had an 88-point lineup in cash, so it was horrible. You could certainly put that on, and most of the lineups that I had that didn't do really well, especially in GPP, that Seahawks-Rams game, Vegas was way off on the total. It was supposed to be like 55-point game. I think it was like 40. It was really low. So I had a lot of players from those lineups that just didn't do very well. I did think Goff was going to be a decent cash play because Seattle's defense has been so horrible, giving up so many points through the air. I stacked with him with Woods and Kupp, and it was horrible. So one of the other guys I started, Duke Johnson, 5 points. The funny thing is before as I was doing lineups, I'm like, well, first of all, David Johnson isn't that good. So why am I playing his backup at 5,000? I should have just listened to myself on that one, but I did it anyway. And then Metcalf, 4 points last week was quite bad. And then Noah Fan, I'm done with him in fantasy this year.
Well, they say I'm quoting Chris Harris football podcast, but the reason he played Duke Johnson is there's a guy on every roster called his name is Chase Volume.
Yeah,
look him up. He's kind of hard to find, but he's usually there. Chase Volume.
Absolutely.
He's sometimes a good player, sometimes he isn't, and that's what we sometimes do, and sometimes we get burned by it. We have to get burned by it. It's like, oh, this guy's stepping into a huge workload. Chase Volume. And it quite work out.
That's why it's like it's a mix, of like price, volume, and then like the player. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
sometimes we don't have that mix right. If there's a certain percentage on it, we don't have the percentages right.
Yep.
I definitely think that was the case with him. I could have played. The good thing was the guys that I played in cash were chalk and they didn't do well. So, but it doesn't matter though because most of the field is playing them.
Yep.
Is the other guys that you play that you're trying to get a step above everyone else.
Yeah, man.
But
Yeah, mom.
what are your walk of shame plays?
Man, I'll fly through this list. Goff was probably like towards the top of my list. I thought he'd have a great game. They won. They played a good game, but his stats just didn't like. There was 3 touchdowns on the ground. Sometimes that happens. Duke Johnson was where. Mike Davis was kind of a disappointment. Cup and Woods, I said both of them, and it's funny because Cup and Woods chose them both, and Josh Reynolds outperforms them both. He's actually, I saw this awesome stat from JJ Zacharyson. He's a late round podcast. Since week 4, Josh Reynolds has had, I think actually more targets than Robert Woods. I'm paraphrasing. I'm probably going to
getting a lot, and his price is cheap.
He gets since week 4, he's had more overall targets, I think, than Robert Woods. He's been productive. He's been good. The other 2, Evan Ingram, 2 catches for 15 yards. That was a mistake. The Philly defense sucked, and I believed in Locke last week because the Raiders don't have a great defense, and that kind of burned me. So those are my main fails. Yeah, those are my main ones, though.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have any? And also, by the way, speaking of walk of shame, Joey, I love you, but your homerism came back and bit you in the ass. You scored 51 point something points in our league. If it weren't for Thielen scoring 20 points, you would have had like a 35-point game.
Man, you are brutal. The man's at home sick with COVID, and here you are ripping on him.
Well, I'm sorry. Hey, man, I gotta call. If I had a week where I scored 40, 50 points, you gotta call me out on it too. The reason I'm calling him out though more than anything though, is his homerism caught up with him. Like he has I think 6 Chiefs on a 14-team roster, including bench players. That means he's at like 42%.
Mahomes, CEH, Butker, defense. I know at least 5.
And he had Hardman. I don't know if he's still there. Yeah, so
Hardman just went back onto waivers, I believe.
But yeah, and it's not a shot necessarily at him. It's just a shot at his homerism because it cost him.
Yeah.
He's kind of falling behind right now, but that'll kill you in the end when it comes to who wins because of points. 4. So
2 bad years in a row for Joey. Teams have Chiefs on him. It's always the same common denominator.
Right. But yeah, that's sorry. I had to throw that in because I don't remember many people scoring 50 points in a season regular like redraft league. Doesn't happen.
It was last week when I was hanging around the 50-point mark, and then Brendan decided to talk shit. Doing enough as he did, his team started going off. I was like, hey man, I need you to keep talking shit. Team's doing great right now. Let's go. I should have asked you to talk shit on Monday because that's what screwed me.
This is true. All right, well, let's get into the Week 11 main slate. It's way less of a predicted high-scoring week than it has been in the past. We got only really 2 games that are expected over 50 points.
Yeah, pretty low.
It's definitely the lowest I've seen this year. The Falcons and the Saints, that game is projected to be 52 points, which is, I don't know, kind of surprising. Maybe the odds makers in Vegas think that Drew Brees has been limiting the offense. We'll see. But the Packers and the Colts, 51 points, and then we get into the Titans and Ravens, 49.5, Patriots and Texans, 49, and Eagles and Browns at 47.5.
I think a part of that is because of tonight's game was a 56 or so, 56.5. And then the late Sunday game is the Raiders Chiefs, which is also really high. I think that's kind of what killed the
I think so.
The
came down to be the schedule. Yeah. Of course, I feel like these games are properly done as far as the primetime games this week. But anyways, so let's start it. Yeah, and Cash is no Kyler or Russell this week on the main slate. But I really like Herbert. He's been so good, and he's only 6,800. He's projected 22 points. Whether he's chalk or not. Yeah, they're playing against the Jets. Whether he's chalk or not, definitely starting. And he's going to be pretty much the must-start for me. I flirted with the idea of Jameis Winston a little bit, but I've seen him throw too many picks, and I watched some Harris football breakdown of his throws, and he's just missing just easy throws.
I mean,
shout out to Harris football.
The game.
Yeah.
Glad you brought him up because shout out to him. He's an awesome podcast or an awesome YouTube channel that breaks down game film. So shout out to him. Good call on that, Brandon.
I picked him up. I hope he does well. He's got some reps with the first team this week. I mean, if you look at his average points last year, higher than Mahomes. That is a fact. You can look that up. It's not a lot, but he's got a really high ceiling as well, so I'm kind of hoping for that. So even if he throws a pick or two, he's still throwing 350-yard games. And Kamara's got an ankle issue possibly this week. I don't know much about that today, but I think he was limited today in practice.
I did see that, yeah. There's a lot of injuries. The entire league seems to be questionable, at least all the starts.
Yeah, all the advice tonight's going to be questionable.
Yes.
You set these lineups at 10 a.m. on Sunday or –
Yeah. They may or may not play, so questionable advice because everyone's questionable. But the only other quarterback I would consider in cash would be Deshaun Watson. You know, he's good every week. He's going against New England. And they're not that great anymore, so I would definitely play him in cash. But those are my two cash plays for the week with Murray being off the main slate. Eric?
Yeah, man.
We got a few, and then we'll get a few from Paul.
Absolutely. For cash, I also like he's coming off a huge performance from last week because they couldn't run the ball that well. Big Ben, he's not that expensive, 6,700. He's playing the Jags. Defense isn't great, but they're not horrible. I think he can actually do pretty well for cash. I think he's been pretty safe all year long. He hasn't had a destroy you game. I have to look. I think he's had a game under 14 points this year. So he's been pretty he's not like a GPP win your tournament lineup, but he had 30 points last week, so not bad. But I think Big Ben is pretty safe against the Jags. I think they've shown that they neutral game script they like to throw the ball at a pretty high rate still, which says a lot about the team and where they feel. So they've been winning a lot. So of course towards the end of the games they'll end up running, but sometimes they'll put that foot on the gas pedal like the Chiefs and just kind of put that foot on the throat and just keep hitting them a little bit. I think Cam is going to have a good game. The Houston Texans are not a good defense, running or passing, and I think Cam could be pretty safe play this week. I like those two guys a lot.
Right on.
Paul, what about you, man? You have anybody who's a safe play? I mean, I do have. So to be clear, I do have Jameis, but he's more of a GPP play, and also maybe he isn't because he's kind of chalk too. I think Jameis might be chalk because of his price. He's very, very cheap.
It's like 18% owned right now. No.
Yeah, I mean
2% actually.
So maybe he's not chalk. He's a GPP play then for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about this. I was thinking of going either picking up Cam off the waiver wire or James Winston. Decided to go with Winston because of obviously that offense the way it is, and the schedule coming up is Falcons, Broncos, Falcons, Jets. I'm sorry, Falcons, Broncos, Falcons, Eagles. So depending on how long Breeze's injury is, we'll see.
Okay.
By the way,
good.
While he's looking that up, I'll say a GPP play I'm going to throw out there is Andy Dalton, 5,300. He's if you want to turn in a play of a guy who's showing you can just any given week just go off. Pretty damn cheap for a guy who has incredible weapons all around him.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there for GPP play.
And they're probably going to be
Yeah.
playing from behind.
That's a good dive play.
It is, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got you got Zeke, you have Amari Cooper, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Michael Gallup. I mean, this team is fucking stacked. If he just has one good game, I mean, as a GPP play, he might just be there, especially at 5,300.
Yeah. Well, right on. Let's move this right along
to
running backs. For me, it's either Kamara or Cook this week, and to be honest, I don't know what they're going to do with the offense. So I'd rather play Cook given that scenario. Maybe Kamara not being as heavily involved this week just because they flip around the game plan. I don't know. Probably unlikely, but when you have to make a decision between Cook and Kamara because you can't play them both. There's just not enough money to go around for two $9,000 running backs.
Unless you play Dalton.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way last season went, when Teddy Bridgewater stepped in, he went like 5-0, and they relied pretty heavily on that run game and the defense. So that might still be a safe way to go.
Well,
as far
the thing is like I'm not saying Kamara is going to have a bad week. I just like Dalvin Cook against Dallas better.
That's
because true. I know he's going to be more featured in that offense for sure. I don't know what they're going to do with Jameis. Even if he's going to start, it could surprise us. It's going to be Taysom Hill. But, we'll see. This week I'm just leaning towards Cook. Definitely done with Mike Davis, fading him. James Conner.
Faded him.
Here's the thing with James Conner. I would not play him this week just because he's burned me in cash too many times, but I would play him in GPP because it's actually a good matchup. So this would kind of set up the positive game script for them just to curb stomp Jacksonville and feed him a bunch of carries. So it could do well. As far as the other cash plays that I'm considering, I'd play Kevin Ballage at 5,600 this week and against the Jets, and then DeAndre Swift, if he plays, of course, I'm all in on him at 6,400. More of some of our dive plays, J.D. McKissick, 5,200, and then Salvin Ahmed going against Denver. That's a perfect dive play right there at 4,800 for me. Eric?
Yeah, man. I'm with you on those. I do. And it's kind of like the Deontay Johnson thing where I've been burned a few times, but his was injury, not lack of play. But I do think Connor's a good play this week. I will play him in cash. That's the only other one that I think I do like Mike Davis this week as well. And even I know doesn't seem like it's a great matchup because Tennessee's playing Baltimore, but Derrick Henry, every year, every time this season, at some point he starts to break down the defenses. He just starts to. I think Derrick Henry, he's 8,000. He's expensive.
I want to see that. Let's go.
This is like usually when he just takes over around this time period. So I'm going to bet on him.
Yeah.
If you want to throw in some dart throws for, events like GPPs, I do like Salvin Ahmed a lot. He's only 4,800. Kerryon Johnson is $4,000, and if DeAndre Swift is out, he's $4K for Kerryon. That might even be a GPP or a cash. I don't know. Could be both. But Kerryon's only 4,000. If Swift all of a sudden pops on the injury report with a concussion, I'd say it's probably like 90% chance he doesn't play. There's no way all of a sudden he's in protocol and then plays the next day. Or 2 days later, I don't see it happening. And the other one is Mixon looks like he's out again. So Gio at 5,500. He wasn't great last week, but in any given week he'd put up 20, 25 points. So he's a good GPP play.
Right on.
And the Salvon, here's the thing. I want to say, like Salvon Ahmed, he's like Breida's back, but I think he's done enough to prove a role. Like where I don't think he's going away. They said they don't know if Gaskin is coming back. They don't know when he's coming back. I think he's proven enough or done enough that I don't think Breida's going to have a whole. I don't think he's going to take the backfield over. I think it's going to be at the best a split, but I think he may have won the role. We'll see.
For sure.
But he's worth a dart throw in tournament games.
Absolutely. Let's move on to wide receivers. I like Dante Adams has a foot thing going, I guess. I don't know, or an illness.
Fucking ankle. Goddamn ankle.
Yeah, ankle. So I'm not playing him, not at 8,600 in what isn't the best matchup. I'd probably go Julio instead. What that's projected to be the high scoring game, the Falcons and Saints. So Julio or Michael Thomas, definitely. I just feel like Julio's a safer play, of course, because with him and Matt Ryan, he's going to get the ball. Keenan Allen, he's a cash play every single week just because his floor is so high. He has like a 28% target share. Deontay Johnson, top 5 last week. He's got a good matchup this week. He's projected 15 points. It's not too bad. At 5,900, you'll definitely take that. Another guy, Jacoby Myers. So the past several weeks, he's got like 48% target share. So he is cash viable. He's also a dive play. He's under 5,000, 4,900. Jakeem Grant, I would certainly play him again. He delivered for us last time. If you played him in your lineups, he's only 3,500 once again. So, and he's going against Denver. So he's going to score points. That's it for me on wide receivers.
Yeah, man. I like Terry McLaurin this week. I think since Alex Smith took over, he's the best quarterback the Washington football team has had all year. And McLaurin they're doing reverses with him. He's got like the Curtis Samuel role where they're doing reverses and give him the ball in his hands, but they're also going down short passes, long passes. He is their offense. I mean, he and J.D. McKissick. Also Logan Thomas, but he's a tight end, obviously. But McLaurin, I like a lot this week. You mentioned Deontay. I'm on him at 5,900. When he hasn't gotten hurt, on all the single games hasn't gotten hurt, he's been like the number 1 receiver every week. A guy who's been really overlooked. If you look back at his career, I think you're like, this guy's a stud. But he's been overlooked, and he didn't have a great game last week, but the weather was shit. Brandon Cooks. The guy has put up numbers week after week after week after week.
Yeah.
Last week wasn't great, but, no one in the whole game did anything. The weather was really bad. But Brandon Cooks, he's a great cash play. He seems very, very stable, good foundation. He puts up numbers all the time. And then I put Julio down, especially if Ridley sits, Calvin Ridley is out, Julio gets a boost for sure. I'd play him regardless, but if Ridley's out, his price at 7,500 is money.
Definitely.
I'll take those guys. There's a mix of most of those guys are cash. I didn't throw a whole lot of GPP guys in there on that one, but you could take shots at guys like Josh Reynolds. Any week can go off, and he's half the price of Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp. Types of
He's
guys.
got a good ceiling right now. He's getting a lot of receptions.
I mean, I put him in our league as a kind of not a dart throw. I've been looking at his numbers. There's the reason I picked him up, but he outperformed Kupp and Woods last week by targets, receptions, and yards. So he's not a bad play.
The only one I think I'd honestly throw on there, this I would watch all the way until Sunday morning. Obviously, the Devontae Adams injury, if he is play. Alan Lazard is off injury, which would mean MVS is most likely going to be getting shadowed by the number 1 corner. So you'll be able to pick him up for pretty cheap.
Yeah, he'd be a dive play for sure.
Yeah, MVS is kind of like I'm gonna say he's like Juju. Juju's better, but it's kind of like when Juju gets the number 1 coverage, he doesn't do well. He does much better as a secondary piece. MVS is the same way. Like when Adams is there, he performs more because Adams takes the main coverage of the main guys, all the attention. So
that's what I'm worried about Mike Evans with this week, going up against Ramsey. I mean, he did a number on DK last week, and I need him to get me some points this week, but it's going to be a hard matchup for him.
It is, but you never know. Just any given week, right? Like Brady always seems to target him in the red zone. Every time they're near the end zone, Brady's looking at Evans. That's his boy. It's my boy, Blue. Man, we go through this shit show they call defenses. I'll round out a couple, and you guys can go.
Skip tight ends, bro.
Oh, I did skip tight ends. I'm
How
sorry.
dare you skip a tight end?
My bad.
It's Kelsey. It's Kelsey. Let's move on.
Nah, they're in the Sunday night game. So
I have
Yeah. All right.
3 tight ends that I chose.
yeah, you have the 2 most playable tight ends, Waller and Kelsey, in the Sunday night game. That's nice.
I have Hayden Hurst. I've been there, especially if Ridley misses the game. It's supposed to be high scoring over under. Hayden Hurst is in there. Logan Thomas again. I mentioned him earlier. Alex Smith seems to target 3 guys. McLaurin, J.D. McKissick, and Logan Thomas. That's his target range pretty much. And
you
then
can say that going back to Kansas City, he targeted Kelsey a shit ton.
Yeah, man. And then last one I throw in there is Tanyan. He gets usually around 3 deep targets a game. He only has to really land on one of those to make up for his cost. So Robert Tanyan is kind of underlooked. He's 3,200, but he gets targeted a lot downfield, and especially if Adams is out. We'll see what happens with Adams. But
Rodgers likes him.
Yeah, he does. It's Tanyan. My bad, Robert Tanyan.
It's all good. Well, I have Austin Hooper again. I'm all about the guys underneath $4,000 this week. So Hooper going against Philly. He's projected 9 points, was only 3,900. Dallas Goedert would be my play, probably even over Hooper at 3,800 in a dive play. Projected even more points, and he's $100 less than Hooper. And then again, Logan Thomas as well. I would agree on that. But Eric, let you finish it with defense.
Yeah, the Washington football team. 2,900 against. So there's a beautiful stat going around about how Washington football team has the second highest pressure rate on all games, and Cincinnati allows the 5th highest rate against them. So you're going against an incredible pressure team versus a team that doesn't do pressure well. I feel like they'll get to Burrow quite a bit. That's why I like them. They're pretty cheap, 2,900. The Browns against Philly because got Carson Wentz. God damn, the guy's he turns the ball over 2 times a game, whether it's a fumble or interception, whatever. And then sorry, Brandon, I chose the Dolphins against the Broncos because if Locke's just going to continually just air the ball out and say "oh no" as I throw the ball, then I'm going to choose the Dolphins. I'm sorry, man. They on top of that though, they played incredible over the last 4 games. So that plus against the matchup.
Oh dang! Hyde just fumbled the ball.
He caught it though. He got it back. This. I hope this goes in overtime. Hope it does.
I was reading an article today, and I really hope this isn't true, but they were talking about the Washington football team staying with that as their name.
No, that's horrible.
That's a terrible idea.
I'm glad that's the most you contribute to the show, Paul.
I will say, here's one thing
Washington football team.
One thing I will say about this team, though, honestly, and this is kind of a little off topic of DFS and fantasy football. I guess it kind of coincides to what he said, but honestly, they're a team where there's a lot of really good pieces that play. Their defense is actually really good. They have a lot of talent on both sides. It would not surprise me if next year or even the end of this year that they come together and they start tearing it up. They're a team that has all the pieces that all the players that the pieces in play where they could become. I wouldn't be surprised if they just became a really good, or maybe not a really good team, but a contender. In this,
or at least a team who's gonna.
Yeah, they're not a bad team. Their 2-7 record doesn't. I don't think it. They've had a lot of close games they've lost. I think they're actually a pretty good team. They're one of those teams where, you're trying to make the playoffs and you have to play them. You're like, damn it, they could be the the heartbreakers. They're not a bad team. I think I could see them doing well in the upcoming years for sure. They have the pieces in place. A little off topic, sorry, but they're not a bad team at all.
No, you're right. Falcons, the Dolphins, but they're 3,400. I'm just not paying that much for defense. Just not going to do it. Not this week anyway. I don't see enough value to do so. But the Falcons, 23 hundo, are going against Winston. I'll take it. I mean, Winston's thrown 3-4 picks many a time. So.
And I think you can. I'd bet
Oh my
against
God!
the Broncos.
Did Hyde
before I
fumble again,
bet
or is that the
against
same play?
Saints offense.
What's the same play, no, man? Sorry. God damn it, my bad. Sorry, guys.
Did you think he fumbled again?
Yeah, I looked up and I was like, oh, again!
They gave him the ball back, and he.
I was like, you son of a bitch! Did it twice.
He's stupid.
Oh no!
I wish I could have drank as much as you guys drank today.
I didn't even drink anything today.
I didn't have that much.
That's why I'm not so loud and obnoxious.
My eyes are glazed, but it's not because of the drinking. Yeah, I didn't drink that much. I just had a few. A little glazed though. But yeah, I wish I probably should have drank more, or maybe I shouldn't have. But whatever. My bad. I hope this goes down to the end. I hope they kick a field goal, and then I hope Arizona scores a touchdown, 28-28, overtime. Here we go.
Right on.
Anyway, sorry. I know you had a train of thought, and I think I destroyed it. My apologies. I don't know what we were talking about.
That's cool. I mean, I said the Dolphins and then the Falcons.
Yeah, you didn't want to pay up for them, but I will.
Yeah.
We'll see. But even if Rippon comes in, might pay up more for him. And this isn't like on purpose, because I know you're a Bronco. True, you love the Broncos. It's nothing to do with that. It's just like it's it's just the matchup. Like, it's a great defense versus a offense that struggled. It's just it's not a shot at you. It's just something I pay up for is all.
It's facts.
Well, I agree with that, but more times than not, when you end up paying for paying up for a defense, it just doesn't work out.
It does. You're right. It does. That does happen all the time. Like, you pay up, like the Steelers versus the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Paid $5,000, or was it $5,000?
Yeah. So something stupid.
Yeah. I get it, but we'll see how it goes. Well, I think that's it, man. Paul, do you have any defenses you liked? We'll throw in there. We'll throw one or two defenses in you like this week.
Not really. I mean, I don't really have anything. I haven't really looked at defenses this week. I'm starting the Saints, staying with them on, but they're going up against the Falcons. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's just for my team in the league. I'm gonna keep rolling with them.
All right. Well, another concludes episode 11. Season 1, episode 11.
All right. We'll see you week 12.
All right, gentlemen. Have a good evening. Appreciate you.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
Later.
Night.